Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the most overpowered build in Splatoon Raiders. This will help you through the endgame as what I think to be the strongest endgame build, as you're able to just delete bosses as well as just avoid every bit of damage, because we'll be staying in the sky, jumping down with our Spider-Man web swings to get ourselves the eggs, and then bounce back up into the air to deal with enemies. And this build will carry you through all of the bottomless buffet, letting you get past level 100 here. And in honest opinion, the speed tank is the best choice here. Now, I thought this was relatively weak early on. However, it is an absolute beast when you get to the late game because of the relics that we can use, which we have Primo weapons, and the speed tank gadgets will actually boost up our weapon damage. So the number one thing that you want to be looking out for is damage surge. This will increase the weapon damage for 5 seconds after using the gadget. This here has a 4-second cooldown, so you can get 100% damage surge when using this, which is insane. It allows you to do some pretty crazy stuff. Icebreaker and freeze being some of the most powerful conditions, so you can get 100% extra damage, deal 5 times the damage, and then get a bunch of other modifiers added on top. Now, the best options, in my honest opinion here, for gadgets, I really like to roll with the jump bomb as well as the Flywire. This lets us jump up into the air, avoiding all damage, while also applying 100% freeze, and the Flywire to get ourselves back down to the ground so you can grab the eggs and just clear through enemies. It also does an explosion, you can pierce through enemies, and it does a lot of damage. I like for my third one, there's a few options for gadgets. I like the shot pot because this deals with the enemies that I like the least, like the little flyers in the towers. You can just have these out and it'll shoot them down really quickly. Another good option is the high fiver. It functions as somewhat like a shotgun that can refill your ink. You can shoot it and then step forwards into it and refill your ink quickly. The torque screw, however, is another amazing choice. You can make this have a huge radius. You toss it down into a large group of enemies. You can make it suck them in, deal damage, ferment them, and do a lot of damage. These three would be the best choice for an offhand one, but if you want to add even further damage reduction or damage increases as well as more mobility, the dash bomb can be a solid third pick. I'm also a fan of the blast boot because it can also apply freeze, so you have multiple different options, but I really just like to go with the jump bomb and Flywire and then add in the shot pots as an additional accessory. But again, you can pick any of those there. But with the gadgets, I'll go over the gadget parts here in just a second. I want to talk about the weapon choice because I found that the blaster ends up being one of the best if you're able to, and you can change out the gadget parts on these and upgrade, or you can change out the parts of them and increase them in rarity. Icebreaker will give 5 times the damage to frozen targets and freeze or thaw them. We can also then throw the freeze on to get a 10% freeze chance, but we also have a 100% chance with our jump boot. So while this does insane amounts of damage, you can see there, the direct hit has 27k, and then there's also the explosion damage there. It's going to be 5 times that, in addition to all the damage boosts that we're able to give it. Now, there's other very powerful weapons like the thermal brellas here. Brellas are kind of like shotguns, and they also have that shield blocking ability, which is incredible. I'm also a big fan of Splatonas for this setup. I used to love brushes. They just don't hold up as well into the late game. And you can also go with a roller here if you have any rollers that you like, or even a slosher. But in my honest opinion, it's best to go with a brella or a blaster, which I just found to be the best choice. And I like to have long range alongside the icebreaker and freeze for the parts that we have on this, just because it's going to help out with, we're doing a lot of flying, so we're going to get that long range damage often, but freeze is like in a non-negotiable and a heavy hitting weapon. But eventually, I'll talk about gadget parts here because this is an important part of it. Now, I really like to go with the explosion area up, so we have a larger area that we can hit targets with when we're using this. But the most essential is double trouble and freeze. We can get these both down to cost 6 gadget parts here. This gives us 2 charges. It has a 6-second cooldown, but with this here, if we're using cooldown reduce at level 6, reducing it by 30%, this brings it down to a 4-second cooldown. So we can stay in the sky pretty often. I really highly recommend grabbing freeze though as one of the first things you add to this, because even at a 33% chance it's nice, but getting 100% guaranteed freeze lets you take care of the big boss enemies that we want gone quickly. So yeah, use these, double trouble and cooldown reduce. The rest don't really matter. I personally like to have the airborne damage up since we're going to be in the sky so often. You can get varying amounts of damage. I just roll with the 4, or I guess the 5 here, swapping around. I like a little bit of ink resupply. Now the Primo weapon I got is good on ink efficiency, so using 12% on this is all I need. You may need more, you may need less, but since we get it every 4 seconds, you're going to consistently keep your ink full, which lets us stay in the sky. Again, area up is really good in alongside this, but staying in the sky is not always good, and that's why I recommend having the Flywire as our second part, because with the wire length up massive, you can zip across the entire map quickly, again, like your Spider-Man. It is incredible, so use this. It makes a big difference. You can also get a damage surge. Now, there is a 100% damage surge, which you can get for 8 parts, reducing it down to 6 points, so even better than this 50% here. I don't have it, but I've been grinding for it, and if you do have it, it is incredible. I don't don't love the airborne damage up one here because this only counts when you're in the air using this gadget. If you use the jump bombs, it does take that away, so you don't get that increase to the overall damage. Salmonid Skewer is also a good choice here because you can allow it to charge up and go through targets, but I leave it off for the points because we really want to get tank ability activation. This is going to activate our relic powers here. Now, I sometimes run with Speed Pro in addition because it will increase the effects of it. This gives you ink on the ground. It's amazing. I also have the Tank Power Pro here. Is this going to give us the increase in damage that you would get from the power tank? And if you stand on the ground for 2 seconds, you will charge it up. And also the tactical tank is giving us this pushback as well as it's fermenting them, so they'll end up taking more damage from us. So it's nice because you can use the Flywire to basically set this up and get your debuff, so you can then run around or go underneath, grab your ink back, and just debuff a large group of enemies before you jump up, freezing them and then destroying them. So yeah, combining all this together on the Flywire is incredibly powerful. Tank ability activation is seriously so good. That's why it costs 10 points. You can reduce it down to 8. Double Trouble, another essential one here. Again, having 2 charges of this is great. It does have a 9-second cooldown, so we can bring that down to around 6-ish seconds. I also throw on the other gadget cooldown. This isn't an essential one, but it reduces the cooldown of our other one by 10%, which, since we can spam this often as well, you basically have infinite jump time. Not necessary, though. The most important is cooldown reduce alongside this. So if you took that one off, the other cooldown reduction, you can throw on like the Salmonid Skewer here, or you can throw on something like the explosion area up, and even the explosion damage up is pretty solid as well. Now for shot pots, this is the third one. I'll show you some gadget perks for the others as well. I like a little bit of the damage up. Range up is probably the most important one to throw on there, alongside explosive placement, because we're going to toss this out like a grenade, getting a little extra damage. Multi-shot, if you get the multi-shot 3, that is even better, obviously. I like to sometimes throw the blaster on, which makes shots explode, which can be nice, but Double Trouble and duration up. When we combine these together, you can have 3 of these at a time. The duration up is incredible, so that you can have multiple of them going, and also having auto trigger on hit just means we never have to think about this. The cooldown reduction is also amazing here. With just a 20%, again, we can keep around 3 of these out at a time with duration up and cooldown reduced. So you're constantly tossing these out. Auto trigger on hit means you're tossing them at the enemies we're shooting at, getting the explosions off. But you can mess around with these. These are more so just to deal with the enemies that we don't like to fight against, the smaller ones that are typically just hard to hit. The thing is, you won't notice this one doing a lot of good, but trust me, if you pay attention, it does a lot of damage. If we're going for the high fiver, though, I'll just quickly go over some. Explosive refractions can be nice. Ink resupply lets you just shoot it and walk into it and get your ink back, which is incredible. You can apply a freeze on it. I'd recommend maxing that out. Victory cooldown will short the, whenever you take out a boss, you get 40% of the cooldown back on this. So you can go with the cooldown reductions on this because it is a very solid option. And with the torque screw, you typically want, I like floaty fun to give ourselves a way of flying. If you didn't want to use the jump boots instead, or the dash, or the jump bomb, you can use this instead, and then use the instead of jump bomb, have dash bomb on. It is nice. It can reduce the damage you take. It can ferment enemies. You can have it increase in its duration and radius. This is a very good option. Just gives you a bit of extra survivability. And the last one I'll talk about is the dash, or I guess I'll talk about the blast boots too, but explosive area up is nice, and damage surge essential. If you can get this on any part, 100% damage increase is massive. I also do have the other gadget damage up just because sometimes you can combo those together with the Flywire to do some good damage, but explosive area up just lets you hit more targets with this. And again, blast boots is good because it is kind of a combination of our jump and dash. It gives you range, it gives you damage. You can get a damage surge on this, which is incredible. It only has 1 charge though, but a 60% damage surge is nice. You can resupply ink when using this, a great panic button, but the freeze 100% is my favorite on this because you can jump in, freeze a large group of enemies with this, similar to the blast or the jump bomb. So combination, these work amazing together. But for our relic powers here now, there's a few options. You can actually, if there's some that you prefer more, like some people like to stay in the ground more, speed up, that can work. You can also use the midair jump because you can get refreshed with the Flywire. But Power Pro and Tactical Pro I found to be great because this gives us all 3 of the tank abilities. You can run Speed Pro, I like it, but I am swapping that off. All set, since we're going to be at full health most of the time, we're taking that 20% damage increase on top of another 20% in damage increase. I also like to throw on the Mega Power Egg Burst, which gives an explosion. I only have 2 out of 3 for this. What's good about this though is that it just lets you clear enemies out. Typically, if you're using the Flywire, there's gonna be a ton of enemies surrounding, so you can jump down and do a bunch of explosions to clear them away. It is good for that regard. You can also go with the Gadget Recovery Speed. I just have 1 of 3. I'm having the worst luck with this relic, but it is obviously a good one too. But I sub it out for 1 of 3 Gadget Recovery Fly. Since we're in the air often, I'm having the worst luck with the ones that I want for my build. I just think that that's how they have it done. But this gives you your cooldown back, which will scale up in effectiveness. You can also do a full-on risky reward build build and go into full damage here and just try to stay in the skies. Look out for any of the umbrella guys because they'll take you out really quickly. You can also get danger bursts. It's okay, better early in the game. And long range is also incredible too, because if you can get this scaled up in damage, you can do some pretty good stuff since we're staying in the sky. So if you don't like Gadget recovery fly, you can throw out long range, and even further upgraded would be better. And as for our choice in our bot buddy, I really like Shiver, but there's certain instances where Frye just set and forget is just so much better, because this hits in a huge area of effect. It'll ferment salmonids, which is great, and this one will freeze salmonids, so you can roll with this. This one requires you to hold it in place, which takes time away from our DPS. So I like to go with Frye's because you press the ultimate button, you have the showstopper come down, and it just hits in a large area of effect. You can use your Flywire to go to a group of enemies and pop this, and what I typically do is Flywire in, use my ultimate, and then run away from it so that the area of effect is getting hit, and then we're taking out other targets that are outside of it to be best with our time. I don't recommend Big Man because while the damage is decent, the problem is it's taking away your damage time with your gun. So you can pop this, get a bunch of targets that were just in a certain area while still focusing on using your weapon, whereas him, you can't really use your weapon while he's doing that. So this one is a wind up, this one doesn't have as much, it is just a quicker one, but you can get by with either of these. Now the strategy when we get into a fight, I like to open up with a Flywire because this lets us ink the ground when we're going around. Find the target that you hate to go against the most. For most people, it's going to be anything that shoots at you, so the umbrella guys. The ones with the shields in front of them as well are targets you definitely want to take out as quickly as possible, but you're basically just going to zip around, look for the most deadly target, freeze them, and try to get rid of them. Also, the ranged towers are also going to be a thorn in your side just because they do a bunch of damage without you really paying attention. And these guys here, since we're in the air, their attacks can hit us really easily. So you see they are moving around often just because we have so much mobility here, and then just using the Flywire to get back down to the ground. You can go into squid form in the air as well to go back down to the ground. It is a little bit slower than using the Flywire, so I don't fully recommend it. I'd rather use Flywire if you have charges available. Those shielded guys there are target number one, as well as these here, the umbrellas you want to get rid of as soon as possible. But the problem with the shield guys is your bot buddy just shoots at the face of them, so it doesn't really do us a whole lot of good. So that's why I recommend getting up in their business and trying to getting behind their business and trying to take them out there. These here are annoying as well with the large trails of ink that they leave on the ground here, but I typically try to leave these targets here, any of the easy ones that you can get kills off of, because those will just get naturally taken out here, where we can focus on the ones that our bot buddy or our shot pots may have a harder time with taking out. So that's my recommendation for this, is just focusing on those more annoying targets, moving around wherever you can. You are a huge counter to these guys here that do the waves, because we can just zip line right to them and we're not going to get hit by any of their attacks. So if you typically had a build where you're more so annoyed with them and just focusing on them, you probably won't be that annoyed with them here, and better to go after other ones. So I just use my ultimate in this area, so I'd recommend once you pop your ult to move to another area, clear it out, and then you can run back and just grab the victory eggs, or the eggs here. So that is the best strategy with doing that, is it's going to give you the highest return on your investment and allow you just to clear out the map a little bit quicker. So yeah, it's mostly just about jumping up into the air and coming back down, looking for these targets here that we want to explode, and just trying to counter every enemy as you can. And you can also use these guys here to your advantage, but typically a freeze will take them out, or a couple freezes, so that can be another option as well. But those shielded guys there are going to be one of the enemies that just ends up wasting a lot of your potential DPS that your other targets could be dealing with. And again, here's the towers that I mentioned you want to get rid of. So it would be the umbrellas, the tower guys, and the stink bomb carriers. Those are like the number 1, 2, and 3 targets that you want to take care of, because they're the biggest threats to us. These guys are also annoying because they leave these large nukes on the ground, so you want to try and get rid of those as much as possible. These guys are not much of a threat to us with the long chain, even though they are kind of annoying. They will leave ink, or they'll leave their salmonid ink in a lot of areas, so you want to take care of them if you can, but they're not super high priority compared to the other targets here. And another trick with the bot buddy is you can actually call the bot buddy, jump on your bot buddy, and then when you jump up, call them again to give yourself an even further jump up. So again, if you're not using the jump bombs, you can have a nice counter to a lot of other methods. And like that, this is the strongest build in Splatoon Raiders, in my opinion. Just lets you delete bosses quickly. It's great for all the content in the game, and most importantly, it's fun. Just saw Spider-Man brand new day, and I'm enjoying this build a lot because you legitimately feel like Spider-Man. So if this video is useful, please hit the subscribe button below, and we'll catch you later. We'll see some more Splatoon Raiders content coming out as I go through the weapons and everything. We'll be doing a tier list here in a couple days, so stay tuned for that. I hope you guys all have a great day.